Hello, we're back to day 4. So the question on most people's lips when it comes to looking at our activity on social media, the biggest question was, but what about social media when you're running a business? I've heard so many people say this over the years, but I'm running a business. I wouldn't be on social media if I didn't have to, but I have to because I'm running a business. You get my drift. So very early on in the piece, back in October now, I recognised this question would come up. How and why did I recognise this? I recognised it because it came up for me. It was one of the most immediate questions that came up for me. So in order to start to answer this, I want to explain 2 things. Thing number 1, there is a distinction between online and on social media. In order to be online, you don't have to be on social media. But in order to be on social media, you have to be online. I hope that makes sense. What I'm really saying is the line here is a very thin, very grey line. But there is a difference for all sorts of reasons that I'll go on to explain. If you think about this, you could have a website, you could have a blog, you could host videos on that website. That would give you an online presence, and that would be enough. What you would then have to do is have a look at where your customers are, how they're going to have a look at your website, how you're going to get them there, and all the same sorts of things that you actually would need for social media. The difference being is when the person goes to the website, they have more of a solitary experience where they can go have a look around, read things. If you've got videos on there, watch things. If you've got audios, listen to things. But it could be that your website is a resource center, source of information. It could be a place where you sell your products or your services. It could be somewhere that you offer some of the work that you do. You could show client testimonials, for example. You could show copies of your book if you're an author. You could show what it's like to work with you or your company or your business. You could show your awards. You could show who you're affiliated with. That website online would be a source of information, which I describe it as solitude because it's very different to going onto the website and then having the kind of technology that has you see something pop up or click on something else and then something else. And then within an hour, you realize that you've just been clicking and looking at random things. People's wedding pictures. Have you ever, and you don't have to admit to this because this is me speaking to you, but have you ever gone onto a social media platform like Meta, Facebook, and found yourself looking at somebody's wedding photos or holiday photos? I know that when I used to make cakes many years ago, and it took me a few years to get out of the habit, I'd find myself looking at a random stranger's wedding cake to see what it was like, what it was made of, how many tiers it was. And this could be from simply going on to send somebody a message or to, speak to somebody or to read an article. It's hyperlinked for a reason. So even though I say that the line is grey and thin, you can still be online and still not be on a social media platform, any social media platforms, or all sorts of social media platforms. But as I say, the line is very thin and very grey. So that was thing number 1. Thing number 2, some things are considered social media and are run very differently. And whilst a lot of what I share here is really subjective, is my opinion, and I've had the benefit of seeing this through the eyes of other people, as I say, clients, colleagues, peers, other mentors, coaches, I began to take an extraordinary amount of interest in other people's opinions. I literally just listened. I didn't voice my opinion. I didn't try and change anyone's mind. I just listened. So this was a very interesting phase for me. But this is not about them. This is about me. I'm not doing it, as a challenge. I'm not doing it because I've been dared to. I'm not doing it because I felt I had to. I'm not doing it because I didn't like the experience on social media. I'm doing it because it's about me on this occasion. And I really wanted to almost treat it as an experiment back in September to see what happens. And it did bear some very surprising and juicy fruit, which I'll share a bit later on. So I believe that if you are feeling any of the feelings that you have, and I was just noting down that in the first kind of, 72 hours, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people have reached out to me privately, and then I'm sure other people have said something on the post. I can't see what those posts are because I'm now off social media, apart from I had to go onto LinkedIn because I realized I didn't post 3 of 3. But I haven't seen what else has been said. So it's a really strange experience. And it's kind of making me look at what would I do differently next time and all of those sorts of things as well. But anyway, when you're looking at navigating this journey, it's really important that whilst you might find what I'm sharing useful and it will resonate on some level for so many of you, as I'm hearing, you need to do what's great for you. So with that to say, I'll be back with another audio, and I want to jump into the catalyst. In fact, there are 14 of them. I'm actually going to go through all of them. So let me start with catalyst number 1, just to get your juices flowing. So the first thing that I noticed was I had this, after kind of sitting with this and making a decision, I had this newfound like hyper awareness of when clients were telling me that they felt really fearful about being visible. Now, these clients are some of the most like confident people that you're ever likely to meet. They're talented, they're brilliant, they're smart and really savvy. But once I'd had this thing ticking around my body, I realized that when people were concerned about being visible, or when it was kind of like something else. So to give you an example, I watched one particular client talking about being visible. We were talking about creating content. And although they were understandably kind of nervous, excited about creating content, not really sure how best to pitch it, feeling like sometimes they were stuck in creating that content, that seemed to me to be a natural ebb and flow, which a lot of people that I've worked with really kind of have maybe struggled with or worried about or not known how to position. What I found really interesting was as we went deeper into the work and I encouraged them more specifically to create some content that they could post on social media, they got very visibly emotional and extremely upset. Now, imagine this. I'm a coach. I'm having this conversation. I've seen people get upset for all sorts of things, and I can hold that space and hold that emotion for them. But to see a number of people get so tearful and so upset and so frightened, making the distinction between sharing their brilliance with the world or creating content specifically to go on social media, I felt like there was something that I wasn't seeing here, but I also felt really deeply it wasn't something I wanted to support or condone if there was a way that I could help people to see it differently, to view it differently, or to do it differently. So that was the first, it felt to me, blindingly obvious catalyst. I was working with handfuls of clients on specific days, a couple of smaller kind of businesses, SMEs, and this was one of the things that I saw. Tomorrow, or on the next on the next Catalyst call, I'm going to talk about another 4. And my advice to you is just listen and see if this resonates with you. For some of you, there might be a turnaround. There might be something that you can do to have it, the experience be different. And for some of you, it might cement the decision that you might have already made for yourself as to why this might be something that you want to do, or why it might not be. Okay, so see you in the next audio. Thank you for listening. And I'll share another 4 of those 14 catalysts with you on the next audio. Bye for now.